I guess everybody just forgot about the San Diego incident, huh? Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my Jurassic Park franchise review series, today I'm going to be talking about the 2018 sci-fi action sequel, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Jurassic World stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Howard, and Rafe Spall, and was directed by J.A. Bayona. Set 3 years after the events of Jurassic World, it tells the story of Claire and Owen as they try to save the dinosaurs from both a volcanic eruption and human greed. Thanks to the franchise's de-extinction in 2015, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom is the 5th Jurassic film and the 2nd in the Jurassic World trilogy. And despite being alive for all 5 of these films, this was actually the first one that I saw in theaters. The original Jurassic Park has proved to be untouchable so far in the franchise, and in all likelihood will remain so no matter how many sequels we get. But I still liked Jurassic World. It certainly had its issues, but it was an enjoyably nostalgic return to Isla Nublar and the franchise, introducing a few new ideas and setting up for some intriguing possibilities. So even though I wasn't supremely excited for Fallen Kingdom, I was still really curious to see what they would do with this next chapter. Although Fallen Kingdom isn't the worst Jurassic Park film to me, I think it might be the most frustrating one. Because of some of the things that happen, yes, but almost more so because of the ideas teased but left unexplored. Jurassic World was designed as a trilogy from the start, and unfortunately, that predetermination really shows here. This movie feels more like a stepping stone than it does a complete story in its own right. It's a full 2-hour film, crafted with the sole purpose of getting us to the final few minutes of the movie and the reveal of its big implications for the 3rd film. So everything leading up to those final minutes kind of just feels like filler to get us to that point. In a weird way, that unimportant filler quality could have led to some creativity. But unfortunately, what actually results is a strange mashup of cool but ultimately unexplored ideas and dull ideas that had already been explored to death in the previous films. Fallen Kingdom is very much a film of 2 halves. The first half is more reminiscent of the classic Jurassic Park we've come to know over the decades. It's an action-packed rescue mission to Isla Nublar with lots of jungle and, more importantly, lots of dinosaurs. Parts of the story are extremely similar to the plot of The Lost World, but I personally think this was done in a more interesting and adventurous way, with plenty of big action set pieces and consistently exciting pacing. But the second half of this movie sees a major, far less interesting shift. We do see dinosaurs in an environment we've never seen them in before, but unfortunately, that mostly consists of a bunch of dark cages. The second half does have some fun horror elements, with a very haunted house, claustrophobic survival vibe and references to horror films like Dracula and Nosferatu. There are certainly some great sequences here, but the plot itself remains quite dull, with the greedy human focus we've seen time and time again in the franchise. The characters are a bit of a mixed bag here, though I will say that they're definitely an improvement over Jurassic World. I mean, we actually have obvious, definitive protagonists this time around, which is already a huge improvement in itself. Owen is still charismatically fun, and Claire's, thankfully, a much more fleshed out character this time around. Very few other characters return from the previous film, in nothing more than bit parts, but there are a few new additions. Some were okay, like Maisie and even Zia, but then you get characters like Franklin, who are just awful. We do have a slightly better human antagonist this time, though they're definitely a stereotypical, cliché-ridden villain, right down to the expository evil plan monologues. Strangely enough, this is actually the first time in the franchise where a dinosaur has felt like a true villain. We've definitely had dino antagonists in all of the previous films, but they've always seemed like sympathetic victims of circumstance. The Indoraptor generates zero sympathy. As per usual with this franchise, the dinosaurs look great here. The visual effects are about on par with Jurassic World. There's perhaps some slightly improved CGI, but much of the improvement stems from the more extensive use of practical effects. Jurassic World still had some, but Fallen Kingdom features a practical puppeteered blue in some scenes, a puppeteered Indoraptor, and even a good old-fashioned animatronic T-Rex for a memorable and unique scene. Velociraptors have always been the dino stars of these films for me, even more than the T-Rex, and that trend continues here. This is an extremely blue-centric story, and even though the Indoraptor is painted in a more villainous light, I like it far more than Jurassic World's Indominus Rex. But, as with any Jurassic Park movie, it's always just nice to be back with the dinosaurs. Everything from the adorable baby velociraptors, to the T-Rex's iconic roar, to a surprisingly heartbreaking moment with the very same Brachiosaurus that initially caused our amazed wonder in the original Jurassic Park. Much like Jurassic Park 3, I think Fallen Kingdom is a bit unfairly maligned. It's not a great film when viewed as a whole, but it's got a lot of very good sequences and story ideas. It's just the connective tissue between those moments that feels underwhelming. This film actually introduces a number of interesting concepts. It just doesn't follow through with any of them. For instance, I would have liked a whole movie dedicated to the endangered species moral dilemma set up during the first act. It sort of gets touched on here and there, but it's not nearly as important to the story as the beginning of the film would have you believe. Like I said before, Fallen Kingdom feels less like its own film and more like a stepping stone to the third film in the Jurassic World trilogy. The bulk of the story is a bit of a letdown, but it's hard not to be excited by the implication of this film's ending. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one is definitely the visual effects. I know I'm sounding like a broken record with these Jurassic Park reviews, but the visual effects are a consistently great element in this franchise. This film maintains the wonderful CGI improvement seen in Jurassic World, but doubles down on the practical effects, making the dino-actor interactions even more realistic. Reminiscent of the work done in the original Jurassic Park and The Lost World, there are several puppeteered and animatronic dinosaur heads used throughout the film, and even a full-bodied practical blue used in certain scenes. The second pro is the action. All of the Jurassic Park films have had some degree of exciting action, and Jurassic World even felt more like an action blockbuster than anything else. But I think Fallen Kingdom might be the most action-packed film we've had in the franchise so far. The opening minutes of the film hark back to the action cheesiness of the first few sequels, but once the main crew reaches the island, it's an exciting and well-paced action thrill ride until the halfway point of the movie. And even though the second half of the film is far less interesting, there's still some great action-packed moments, ranging from entertaining, like the Packy auction scene, to genuinely tense with the Indoraptor. On the con side, the biggest issue is the second half. It has its fun and interesting moments, and the horror elements are nice, but the story becomes exceptionally dull. The bulk of the focus turns to the human villain plot, which is just not interesting at all. A few odd revelations are kind of randomly thrown in too, which sort of muddies up the plot. The very end of the film offers some exciting implications and repercussions that are going to have to be dealt with in Jurassic World Dominion, but it's too bad that some of the ideas introduced in the first half of the film are completely forgotten by the second half. The second con is Franklin. I suppose I could have broadened this con up a bit to include a few more underwhelming characters, but he deserves a con spot all to himself. I really don't understand why this character exists. I know they needed a tech guy, but turning him into such an annoying and utterly unfunny character was beyond unnecessary. He had one mildly entertaining moment with the bug spray, and that was it. The rest was basically just annoying screaming. And this is one instance where I'm glad that something from the first half of the film was largely forgotten in the second half. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom 3 out of 5 paws. It's got some interesting ideas, great visual effects, and an action-oriented focus, but the story loses steam halfway through and ends up feeling more like a stepping stone to the presumably more interesting third film in the trilogy. I would recommend Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom to people who liked the first Jurassic World movie. If you enjoyed that film's nostalgic return to the world of Jurassic Park, then you'll likely be much more invested in this film too, and perhaps more importantly, what it sets up for the third film of the trilogy. If you don't care about the Jurassic World story arc or its characters, this will definitely be a tougher sell. However, if you liked The Lost World, you might at least enjoy the first half of this one. If you liked Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, I would recommend Jurassic World. Not only does that film establish this modern take on the Jurassic Park world and several of the main human and dinosaur characters, but it's also integral to the story setup and where it's headed with the close of the trilogy. If you liked the first half of this film, you might want to watch The Lost World: Jurassic Park. It's a much darker toned film, but there are some undeniable plot similarities. And if you liked the second half of the film, you should check out Alien. It's a classic horror-tinged sci-fi film that features some very tense, claustrophobic moments of characters being stalked by a monstrous creature. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie that features an auction? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.